Welcome back, Wolfpack. Vrillis here, and today we're talking about the best and worst dual type Pokemon types. So with my top 5 best and worst Pokemon type video, the most common question was, what about dual types? So that's what this video is about. I also decided to bring them together because I don't really have to do as much explanation. That's mostly check out how awesome this typing is, and let's move on. So first off, I do want to mention that I'm putting more stress on the typing itself with very little care for the Pokemon or the abilities, because Pokemon abilities change, but the typing itself doesn't really. So let's start off with the number 5 best Pokemon dual typing, Water Electric. You'd expect that with Electric harming Water so much that they would repel each other, but really it creates a very beautiful and one of the strongest dual typings in the game. They only have 2 weaknesses and a ton of resistances. So I mean, just 1 2x weakness to ground, and grass isn't even that common, so I mean 2x weakness to that isn't even bad. And if we were putting a lot of stress on like the abilities and the Pokemon themselves, Rotom easily could be number 1 with Water Electric and Levitate, because that just means that it only has a 2x grass weakness. That's probably better than anything you're really going to find anywhere else. So that's why, like, I didn't want to put too much stress on it, because Lantern still exists as a Water Electric Pokemon, and it's still a very good typing overall. Also, Mold Breaker and removing of abilities and whatnot. So that just complicates things too much. Number 4, we have Water Ground. Water Ground in that same regard. Water hurts ground, but together they only have 1 4x weakness to grass. Now I was thinking about a 4x weakness to grass, in my opinion, is better than 2 weaknesses and one of them being ground. So I decided to put Water Ground higher on the list. Also, it does have that immunity to Electric, which is really nice. So overall, just a really good typing. Water Electric and Water Ground interchangeable between 4th and 5th, I'd guess, but still very good typings overall. Next up, we have Dark Ghost at number 3. Dark Ghost was the best typing back in Generation 5. No weaknesses, 3 immunities, and 1 resist. How could you go wrong with that? That people were always talking about, Wonder Guard, Spiritomb, or Sableye, that the majesty and the wonder of any kind of Pokemon like that. Now, of course, it'd be completely hacked, but it was still a really fun thing to think about. Now, with Fairy being such a common typing, that 1 weakness to Fairy, while being the only way to stop a Dark Ghost Pokemon, is fairly common, so it does hurt the typing out a bit, but still a really beautiful typing that Dark and Ghost, I have very little weakness at all. For number 2 on the list, I decided to kind of pair Grass Steel and Bug Steel because it's effectively the same thing. That you have a ton of resistances and only 1 real threat, with Fire being 4 times effective. Now with Grass Steel, it is a 2x weakness to fighting, but Ferrothorn kind of doesn't care overall because it's such a defensive heavy tank and fighting is mostly physical. So I just kind of wanted to kind of show that these Pokemon are going to resist hard and have very little susceptibility, so that's why I decided to put Bug Steel and Grass Steel at number 2 on the list. Now, right now, for the best Pokemon dual typing, I had to put Steel Fairy. That you have tons of resistances, to only 2 2x weaknesses, and then immunities to Poison and Dragon. Like, you cannot go wrong with Steel Fairy. Now, but it's still an incredible typing, and it's just a really tough thing to break down. That if you don't have Ground or Fire, you're not going to have many options against this Pokemon. So the Steel kind of resists the Fairy weakness, and then also it hits super effective against other Fairies while resisting Fairies itself. So it's a strong typing against one of its primary types, as well as just being absurd to everything else. So let's go and hop over to the top 5 worst dual typings, and first off, I wanted to say Rock Fighting. 7 weaknesses. That's kind of crazy, that with the introduction of the Fairy typing, fighting didn't get too many favors done for it, so Pokemon like Terrakion just had an extra weakness go and tacked in like that. Now it does get a lot of resistances, which is why even though for 7 weaknesses, it does have 6 resistances, so it's only 5 on the list. Next up we have Rock Psychic. Now Rock Psychic itself has 7 weaknesses as well, but less resistances. Now if we were putting a little stress onto the abilities, because the only 2 Pokemon Rock Psychic also have the same Levitate ability, so it technically counts as immunity with both of these Pokemon, but overall if that ability gets taken away, we're not factoring it, still a lot of weaknesses and still a very susceptible typing, while also not resisting as hard as Rock Fighting. For number 3, I decided to put Ice Psychic. Like, just too much frailty and too little resistance. That since Ice barely brings any resistance to the table, that with 6 weaknesses and 2 resistances, it's far too susceptible to do much with, and that's why I had to put it as the 3rd worst dual typing. For the 2nd worst Pokemon typing, I decided to put Ice Rock. That I feel bad for Auroras. That it's honestly a pretty solid Pokemon that has Refrigerate, which is a really nice ability, and Ice and Rock does have some good stab coverage, but overall, too many weaknesses. 6 weaknesses, but 2 of them are 4 times weaknesses. And they're kind of common, like Steel has risen in a lot of popularity to take out Fairy-type Pokemon, and that 4 times weakness to fighting, a Power-Up Punch threatens to knock you out, is kind of bad. Also, you don't get too many resistances, and it's just way too vulnerable for the Pokemon, and way too vulnerable as a typing overall. So for the worst dual typing, I kind of put multiple ones together just to kind of show off that Grass in anything is kind of bad. I put Grass as the worst typing because if you look at Dark Grass, Psychic Grass, Bug Grass, and Ice Grass have so many weaknesses that some of them even have 4 times weaknesses while already having 7 weaknesses or even 6 weaknesses, and there's really not much else you can do about that. That it's just really, it's a mess when you look at like Grass and pairing up with things. So just Grass as a whole with any kind of dual typings kind of brings it together as kind of the worst dual typing potential. Now, while you could like make an argument that, you know, Rock Fighting, Ice Rock, and Ice Psychic are worse at points because they have less resistances, like at least when you have Grass you get some resistances out of it, but overall it's just like a slew of weaknesses, and I decided to just keep it worse on the list. And because if you look at it, I could have made 4/5 of the list about Grass typings potentially. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a nice day.